Universal Soldier, there's a lot of action. We did the Hoover Dam sequence. I did the stunts going down a dam. That was a little scary, but it looks good in the movie.
The movie features that song by Ice-T, Body Count, that's now getting a lot of controversy with the police attacking it. What's your position on this?
Well, I've been too busy working, I haven't read about that, but I met Ice-T. He seems like a cool guy. He's got a cute kid, beautiful wife. Seems like a nice guy to me.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains themes and language not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome back, everybody, to the High Tech Low Life podcast for one more week. And maybe more after that. I'm your host, Eric, and with me, as always, is Josh.
I'm Josh. Wait, are we shutting this down?
No, and I don't know why I entered.
So it's only one more week?
I don't know why, but after, I think it was Wayne's World, saying with me, as always, seems like such an insult to a co-host.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't that Wayne's World 2 or something, where they're like, Wayne, do you really want to be with me, as always, as Wayne or Garth?
I think that was Wayne's World 2.
Great piece of cinematic film that is unfortunately not cyberpunk.
Seems like it might be a good Patreon commentary, though.
It could be. It could be.
Oh wait, what about the scene where Garth is beating the robot hand with a hammer? Is that
it does
cyberpunk?
Have a robot hand. We might be able. That's my favorite scene. I found gifs of that all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we've already gotten off the rails. We are the High Tech Low Life podcast. We watch and review cyberpunk media, movies, books, other stuff, ostensibly that we haven't gotten to yet because we haven't quite figured out how. But if it's cyberpunk, we love it.
I don't think I'm going to go that far
tolerate
after this
it.
week.
We tolerate it.
We are predisposed to enjoy things that are cyberpunk.
There you go.
It is not a blank check.
True. This week we watched the it's 91, correct?
92?
92, the 1992 film Universal Soldier, which I don't know if it is actually cyberpunk, having watched it. It's on all the lists though, so we gave it a go.
I mean, I can see where somebody, like, it's got a couple of the things that kind of go into cyberpunk. Like,
it's got some of the hallmarks for sure.
But yeah, I don't think, like, if I were building a list of cyberpunk, this wouldn't go on it. It would be cyberpunk adjacent.
Agreed. I guess we can get more into that when we actually dive into the meat of it. Not my favorite movie. I'll just start with that.
Yeah.
With that spoiler.
Yeah. Spoilies. Didn't love it.
No. Didn't hate it as much as I thought I would either, though. But we can break it down here in a moment.
Yeah.
You might disagree with me.
I don't know. I'm still working through my feelings. About
it's
sitting through this twice.
We try to see the bright side.
Yeah.
Also, good on you for doing it twice. I was not going to do that.
We'll get into it more, but I think the first time, like roughly halfway through, I went into a fugue state.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't going to be able to actually discuss the film.
Yeah, I get that. All right. Before we dive into the incredibly deep and thought-provoking film called Universal Soldier, let's talk about other things first. As we do, is there any current events that we should bring up?
I guess we can do a follow-up from last week.
Yeah, I thought that might be worth mentioning.
Yeah. the state representatives from Tennessee who were expelled from the chamber, both got reinstated by their respective city councils.
One of them had already been reinstated when last week's episode aired.
Yeah. And they are both using their fucking, the big megaphone that they were handed very well.
Yeah, the Republicans just gave them a megaphone on a silver platter to the entire nation, and now they're using it, which, great.
Yeah, good for them.
You got to take those chances when they're gifted to you by your opposition for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's... There are a number of, tactical and strategic theoreticians who have basically said that war really comes down to you taking advantage of it when your enemy inevitably fucks up, or your enemy not managing to take advantage of when you fuck up, because both of those things will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. I was happy to hear it, and I hope they do some good in that state. I do know our neighboring state that we spend a lot of time in, Missouri, could definitely use some help. They had some fucking awful laws come up this week.
Yeah,
pretty
really.
much outright banning transitional care for any aged person.
Yeah.
I don't believe, has that passed the state Senate yet?
I honestly do not know.
Last I heard, it had passed the House and was likely to pass the Senate, but it's...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been as up on my news for the past 2 days, so it could have happened on Friday.
It's never good.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, there's some talk about grandfathering in people who are already on it. I don't know the truth of that or not, but man, what a fucking horrible thing to do.
Yeah, it's not great. I did see a thing this morning. Apparently, Children's Mercy, a local hospital, is suing the state.
Good.
Basically saying, no, what you're this new law is incredibly onerous and go to hell, because the state wants to require all medical records of all hormonal treatment, plus every instance, they want specific records of every instance where, I don't know, it's some nuts fucking thing of every instance where they have called the police or child protective services or whatever they call that in Missouri about possible abuse, which I'd think it'd be easier to get those from the police.
Yeah.
Why
is it a hospital's job to disclose that information?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's going to result in people dying, which I know the GOP doesn't care because it's not people they care about. And so if they die, it's just better off for them. But it's horrible and disheartening, and I hate it.
It really is. Oh, yeah. And apparently they're going to start checking high schoolers' junk in Kansas now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they passed the bathroom ban and the trans sports issue ban, which was vetoed by the governor twice, and they didn't manage to override it last year, but they did this year. And I think it's your actual representative.
No, it's actually 2 blocks from me.
I was going to say, I was looking at the map of his district, and I couldn't tell if you were in it or not.
Yeah, it's north of Parallel.
Okay. Anyway, he's a Democrat that voted with the Republicans because people are awful, hateful creatures.
Believe me, a motherfucker would have been at his office.
Yeah.
As it stands now, I just sent a sternly worded email.
It's a bad time to be LGBT in this world.
Yeah, it's not great. And the funny, I don't know, the thing is that it's so ridiculously fucking transparent.
Yeah,
this whole playbook is just a copy of the gay marriage and gay panic playbook
Mm-hmm.
until
Which was a copy of the civil rights playbook before it. Yeah.
Which they like, what happened was, okay, eventually a completely reasonable amount of rights, like, treat people like people, let them get married, etc. Enough of that happened that suddenly they realized, oh, it's just totally fine. It wasn't a slippery slope. We haven't had people marrying dogs.
It's unbelievable. I thought for sure that was going to come true.
Yeah, I know. I was very excited.
Love my dog.
I'm very excited for dog weddings. I want to see people in dog weddings.
I don't so much like the sexual part of it, but I absolutely would like to go to a human dog wedding.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? A little French bulldog or something.
It's adorable.
Yeah. That, like, people saw that, oh no, wait, they're not marrying their dogs. They're just humans who
want to live
similar tax
like normal
rates.
fucking humans. Yeah.
And can visit each other in the hospital. And then they just copied, like, it's direct copy. It's like, I don't know, it seems, number one, it didn't work the previous times.
I feel like it's actually a little worse this time because they're putting so much effort into equating transgendered people with pedophiles. Like they're using those two words together so often, which is language that leads to violence almost universally.
They were absolutely doing that
You're
a
right,
ton. It's just that after a certain point, it died off a little bit. I mean, go back to...
No, you're right. They absolutely did that a lot.
Yeah. Anita Bryant. And yeah, it was... it's just... That was mostly before, the year 2000.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you can do other than stand up for people who, if you're not one of these marginalized groups, get between the people who are and the people that are trying to hurt them as much as possible. I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah, be as much of a meat shield as you can.
Yeah, like figuratively and literally if it comes down to it.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about recommendos real quick. Maybe cheer up before we get into this fantastic movie that I can't wait to talk about. I've been dying to do.
You got any recommendos?
I do. I've got a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a film in the theater 2 nights ago, and it was called Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. And I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Pretty fun movie?
Pretty fun movie. I think whether, like, my wife doesn't play, she had a great time. She is a big Chris Pine fan and a big Hugh Grant fan. So really she was set whether she cared about Dungeons and Dragons or not, but she enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Like they did a good job. Something that the Warcraft movie failed at is that
I'm sorry. Occasionally I am reminded that existed.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh every time because they spent a lot of money. They spent a ton of money on it, and yet it fails to exist at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Can you even watch that anywhere?
I watched it on a plane last year when I went to Malaysia.
Okay, great.
It's out there. But what it had a lot of like fan service in it, but it was fan service that somebody who wasn't a fan think that's weird. Why is that? It takes non-fans out of the movie, and Dungeons and Dragons had a lot of fan service that people could that didn't do that. Like they didn't like wink and nod like this is a gelatinous cube. We all know what a gelatinous cube is, right? They showed the gelatinous cube and they explained how it worked to the non-viewers, and everybody's like, okay, that's a weird cube that everybody needs to worry about.
Yeah, sure.
I just thought they did a good job. Plus, it was kind of a weak storyline, but it was made up for by the fact that it was actually like the movie was a comedy. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So I mean, it had some dark moments and there was some violence, but it was more than anything, it was a comedy movie.
Okay, so it's exactly Dungeons and Dragons then.
Yeah, it is, and it has a great cast. And Michelle Rodriguez, I feel like, was the best of the bunch, and I loved her character in it dearly.
Well, I think you and I are maybe overly fond of Michelle Rodriguez. Like,
yeah, I always have been. I don't
yeah.
even know why.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I feel like you and I are people who are really on Michelle Rodriguez's side in basically everything, and
I love
the
watching
rest
her
of the
in
world
anything.
apparently doesn't feel that way, and I don't get it.
I don't either. I think she's great, and she played an awesome kind of dumb but wise barbarian.
Oh, okay, sure.
She beat a lot of ass, and she was just really fun to watch. So yeah, check that out. I got one more, but do you have anything?
I do have something, and it is a direct contrast to the film we have watched.
Oh, is it Planetary Peaceful Person?
It is not. It is a little movie that some of you might have heard of called The Bourne Identity.
Oh, God. I have heard of that, believe it or not.
It is this movie, but like, good?
Yeah, it's really what this movie was trying to be, but it hadn't happened yet, so you can't say it was ripping off.
I actually, for shits and giggles, they're all on Netflix for the next couple of weeks. Watch all 4. Didn't remember that there were 4 of the Bourne movies. 3 with Matt Damon, 1 with Jeremy Renner.
Oh, R.I.P. No, not quite.
No, not quite. And they are all of them exactly this movie, but like good. So, recommendo if you want to.
I wouldn't deny that they were good, like objectively, but I did not enjoy any of them ever.
Oh yeah, you got motion sick or something, didn't you?
I do get motion sick from the fights, but just beyond that, I'm just not into that type of spy. Once again, I think I watched it on a plane. I'm just not into that type of film, really. But yeah, I'm not. That's not to say that I don't understand why people are.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Josh once again recommending a movie from 30 years ago.
20.
Oh, you're right. My other quick one is we started watching on Netflix. First thing I've watched on Netflix in like 2 years. It's a show called Beef.
Oh, you got that beef injection?
We got the beef injection. We're only like 3 or 4 episodes in, but I'm enjoying it quite a bit, actually. It's funny and poignant.
I have heard from a bunch of people that beef is good, and we'll probably start that sometime soon. Once we've got kind of a backlog. Actually, I do have another recommendo, which is for a program that was on FX and is now on FX on Hulu, because sure, why not?
Yeah, sure.
You know, we're in the days of sane branding.
Yeah,
everything makes sense.
No, especially the things HBO's doing. Baller moves.
Chef kiss.
Yes. If they raise their prices to things I've seen thrown out there, like $10 with ads, $15 limited ads, $20 no ads, I am going to pirate from you, HBO.
Yeah.
You have some of my favorite things to watch, but I can get those for free. You realize that, right?
That they are demanding that you pirate from them.
Yes. It has become the morally right, the morally just thing to do. When your pricing gets so bad that it's morally just to steal, it's a fucked up world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good.
Anyway, sorry, you were recommending something.
Oh, okay. So it's on FX/Hulu, whatever. There's a little program from a few years ago called Mr. In Between. I had never heard of it prior to like a month ago. Yeah, I didn't know it existed. And then once, like I saw it recommended in an article. God, I wish I should have kept notes on where the fuck that was, but saw it recommended and was like, that faintly rings a bell. Did I watch that or something? It is an Australian half-hour show, co-pro with FX, and the main character is a hitman who is just kind of a dude. And this is not like, I don't know how to sell this show very well.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, and I think that's probably
why it Is it heard of by anybody?
Yeah. I feel like there's like, as opposed to say Terriers, which had huge marketing issues, like, oh, it's a show about a dog.
Yeah, it was. Turns out it was not.
Yeah. This one, like, every way I can explain this show doesn't make it sound tremendously interesting, other than all I can really say is, okay, it's way better than the sum of its parts, and it is really, really, really good. Like, but there's no, like, I can't hang a hat. Like, it's one of those things, like, if it had aired on HBO in like 2007, then you'd be like, okay, so imagine a black comedy about an Australian hitman in Australia. He's got a like 12-year-old daughter. He's divorced. And he's just kind of a mafia hitman guy. And then you would go, oh, okay, I'll give that a shot, because everything that was on HBO in 2007 was like, that was sort of enough of a mark of quality. You could, but the show is really fucking good. And I figured out why I thought I recognized it. And I don't know if literally any other human has seen this, but in 2006, there was a film called The Magician, which was directed by and written by the same guy who wrote, stars in, and directs most of this show, called The Magician. And it's the same character and everything, but it was like, I don't know if anybody else has seen it. I can't, like, it's not really available to watch anywhere, I don't think. But it was also very good.
And they're similar?
It's the same character. It's just,
is it like a sequel?
Yes, the TV series is a 13 years later sequel to, like, and I haven't dug into this enough. It's a 13 years later sequel to an Australian independent film.
All right.
Like, and
is it Aussie? Like, did it air in Australia, and that's why we've never heard of it? It's just picked up by a streaming service.
It's one of those where it's Australian, and then they also aired it on, FX like 2 months later or something, kind of like some of those BBC shows that also air on AMC.
Okay.
Let me really quickly look up. I can't remember the main guy's name. It's
Australian. I'm in.
Yeah, it's really good.
I love Australian shit.
Okay, so
I think I share a sense of humor with the majority of Australia or something, because for some reason, almost anything I watch out of that country, I like.
I feel like most of the stuff I see from Australia works for me. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why, but
I was really bummed that Auntie Donna's Big Old House of Fun didn't get picked up again on Netflix. I liked that.
Yeah, that was a very
idiotic show.
It was, yeah,
but they're doing fine on YouTube.
Okay, so the star and writer is a guy named Scott Ryan.
Okay.
And if you look him up on fucking IMDb, this 3-season TV show, which he stars in, and this movie that he wrote and starred in, are his only credits. I have no fucking idea. Like, wow. This guy made a movie.
He was put on this earth to do one thing.
Apparently.
He's done it. And he bounced.
Apparently, like, he made this movie in 2004 or something, and then 12 years later got a TV show on the same property, and nothing in between. I honestly have no fucking idea.
I don't know. I'll consider checking it out, though. I mean, it sounds interesting.
I strongly recommend it, even though I can't sell it very well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've whetted the you've whetted my curiosity. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I guess even though it's not, I guess the TV show I would most relate it to is Patriot.
I was thinking your description sounded like how I would describe Patriot very confusedly. Like it's about an assassin, but it's really not about an assassin.
Yeah, it's different, but yeah, I would say that honestly, yeah, I don't know who's feeding who, but it and Patriot have a lot of the same vibes, even though this does not have the depressed vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right.
Okay.
I think that's a good place to end this portion of the show and move on to the main portion of the show. I think we
can
can
we
keep
also
this
end our
episode
lives
to an hour. Do you think we can do? I don't know. We'll probably go over an hour. We'll see.
Okay.
So let's get into the deets of Universal Soldier. Who directed this fucking film?
Roland Emmerich.
What else is that man directed?
Roland Emmerich has directed a bunch of big fucking hits, including Ye Stargate, Independence Day. What was that?
Day After
movie?
Tomorrow.
Yes,
Godzilla.
Day After Tomorrow. Yeah. Moonfall recently.
A lot of really kind of bad to middling sci-fi stuff.
10,000 BC.
With the exception of Independence Day, which is far past middling.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say that like Stargate punches above its weight, at least based on my memory of it.
I never watched it. Never moved me.
I mean, that might just because it has Kirk Douglas and James Spader, you know, which you can't go too terribly wrong with those two dudes in a movie.
Yeah, I would say the same thing about Jean-Claude Van Damme and
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. God dang it!
No, I've never seen any of the.
My mic keeps making.
I've never seen any of the Expendables movies.
I have, and I like them more than this.
I don't feel like I need to, but yeah, I believe that they're better than this.
I think I've seen the first two.
Mm-hmm.
They're self-aware. I mean, that's the main thing. It's one thing when you watch a movie like this that's taking itself seriously, and another that's like doing it for fun because it knows what it is, and everybody's kind of in on the joke.
That's something that I'm honestly not sure about this movie. Like, I don't think the movie buys into it, but I think Dolph Lundgren thinks this is a comedy. And he's not doing badly.
Well, that was one of my high points of this movie. I actually fucking love Dolph Lundgren in this movie.
The motherfucker has some good bits.
I mean, he's awful as a character, but as an actor, I was enjoying what he was doing.
Like, it's not a very well modulated performance, but the guy is going for the Dumb and Dumber version of an action villain?
Yeah.
Somehow?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like his Johnny Mnemonic role, man. Like, we both agree that Johnny Mnemonic would have been better without Dolph Lundgren's character in it. We also both agree that we love Dolph Lundgren's character in it. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. He's some sort of like irrational number that gets tossed into an equation, and like I don't know what happens at this point.
I mean, you're not going to make it worse by throwing him in.
You're not going to make it worse. It's not a guarantee it'll be better. It'll definitely be different.
Probably a lateral move, but it will be entertaining.
Honestly, he is kind of like Nicolas Cage that way. Like,
yeah. Although I would argue that Nicolas Cage is a much better actor.
I agree.
When given the material.
I absolutely agree, but it's one of those things like you toss Dolph Lundgren in, and you are certainly getting a different result than you might expect.
Yeah.
That, you know, he's strong paprika, interestingly enough.
Yeah. As opposed to Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is that Himalayan rock salt that doesn't really work great at providing salt to your food, but looks kind of good on your counter.
It's pink.
It's
cool.
pink. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, let's do the recap.
Okay. This begins as all of the greatest movies in history begin with the Kuroko logo, which really takes me back. I should have done some research and figured out when that production company dissolved. But I remember it being in front of many, many, many films in the late 80s and early 90s.
I don't remember the logo offhand. I'm sure I saw it and
Yeah,
probably had the same feeling.
It's the it's a silver C that's being traced out for C for Karoko.
Yeah.
I think they also did like Robot Jocks
Oh, yeah.
and like a bunch of shit like that. And maybe they might have actually had the first Terminator movie too. And
Terminator.
So,
there's a phrase that's probably not the last time they'll be spoken in this review.
Let's see if we can do this review without.
I don't think that's possible. This movie clearly would not exist without Terminator.
I don't know what you're talking about. It didn't take inspiration from anything. Okay, so, and again, continuing the starts like all the best movies from the 80s and 90s in Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
So, and of course, with a My Lai massacre copy, Mank, if you will. So Jean-Claude Van Damme is in Vietnam, and Dolph Lundgren is his sergeant who goes over the edge and starts slaughtering civilians. And of course, again, like all the greatest movies, makes a necklace out of ears.
Yeah. I will say, you made it sound worse in your text to me than it was when I actually watched it. Because clearly he's in the wrong for this, and the movie says, this is bad and you shouldn't do this. But yeah, he does do it.
He definitely does. So this is Dolph's first really great bit. He holds a necklace that he's made of ears from his victims,
which apparently aren't all Vietnamese people.
No,
most of them are American soldiers.
Yeah, we saw a guy I'm pretty sure was the villain in Pee-wee's Big Adventure with his ear cut off.
Francis?
Yeah, I think it was Francis.
It might have been, yeah.
With his ear cut off. He holds up the ear necklace and says, "Do you hear me?"
He does.
And that was the first time I laughed in this film.
They don't ever explain what happened to Dolph Lundgren's character to make him lose his shit. But clearly, the war was too much for him. He lost his mind and started seeing everybody that wasn't immediately following his orders as a traitor, and he was killing them and taking their ears no matter what side of the fight they were on.
Yes. Not just as a traitor, but as a G***K traitor.
Yeah, he did use that word a couple times.
Which took me out of the movie a little bit. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like you heard that a lot in late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. And it has been so long since that was an acceptable thing to hear that it immediately shook me out of any like narrative.
Another thing that took me out in this film was just the wanton destruction, which is another big thing in the 80s and 90s action movies.
Yeah.
Just collateral damage, dead bodies, didn't matter. Just firing into crowds, who cares?
I think that's, you have just made me think of something. Okay, so I wonder how much that has changed because, and this goes into a point I was going to make, and this might be the thing that sends us over the hour mark.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so it feels...
Do you want to do it now or wait till your plan to bring it up?
No, I had planned to bring this up early.
Okay.
Because it, like, the fact that the opening 5 minutes of this movie takes place in Vietnam, like, it feels like basically from about 1980 through 1992, I mean, this is probably the very end of it, like, Vietnam had a huge explicit place in just about every goddamn movie I saw. Like,
yeah, I would actually argue that this is after it had kind of ended, and this was trying to glom onto that a little bit, because it felt like it was over by 92. But
I think this is the very end of it. Yeah. But it feels like virtually every fucking movie had some Vietnam relation in it. Either, ooh, he's a vet, he might lose his shit, or, oh, this guy has a backstory in Vietnam, or, okay, of course we have flashbacks with Purple Haze and or The Doors. I mean, it just seems like that was gigantic and it could be because of the movies that I was exposed to on HBO and on video that happened to be bad action movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like it was, part of other movies. So, it could have been just my intake as a 10-year-old.
Well, I watched Jacob's Ladder not long ago. I believe I mentioned on the show. It was had a big Vietnam element. It was just like that was the most recent war. It was only in 1990. It was only 20 years gone. All those kids who had gone over there were only in their 40s or upper 30s even. So, I mean, what did they have? What other big conflict did they have to compare it to? Desert Storm. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same horror show that Vietnam was.
See, here is my question: is the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, does that hold the same place in our cinema today?
That's a good point.
I mean, because I don't know. As I was watching this, I was thinking man, I used to see Vietnam shit fucking everywhere. And I do not see Afghanistan, Iraq. I don't see that stuff the same way, but it might just be because I don't watch whatever happens to be on HBO.
Yes. Here's a thought I had actually as at the D&D movie, because one of the trailers that ran before it was for Jake Gyllenhaal's new movie, in which he plays a vet who was basically had his life saved by an interpreter in Iraq. Okay. And then years later, or Afghanistan probably. Yeah, Afghanistan. Years later, the interpreter, is being chased by the Taliban, and he has to single-handedly go in and save the interpreter's life. He says, I owe him a life debt.
It's the Delta Force, Chuck Norris films.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an original thought. Yeah. But as I was watching that, I'm like, who is this movie for? It's depicting the Afghanis as, real people worthy of being saved and worthy of saving American soldiers.
Well, one Afghani.
Yeah, but I mean, I would assume.
Let's hope. Yeah.
But it's also so it's not really appealing to conservatives in that way, but it's also not really appealing. Anybody left of center is fucking tired of watching anything related to the war in the Middle East. So I don't know who that movie's for. And when was the last time an American Iraq or Afghanistan movie did well? Do they do well? I don't know. There's been a lot of them, man. Don't think those movies aren't being made in mass.
Okay, I feel American Sniper, I know that did well.
That's the big one I can remember too.
Hurt
Locker was pretty good, but that was pretty much in the thick of it.
Fucking 15 years ago.
Yeah. Catherine Bigelow, shout out.
Yeah.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Catherine Bigelow. Hey, come on, give us a call.
I'd love to interview. I'd love to listen to you interview Catherine Bigelow, as I was far too afraid to say anything.
Sign up for our Patreon and then we'll interview you.
What? You gotta pay us that $5, Catherine Bigelow. You're not getting this type of press.
Yeah, it's. I remember several years ago I saw a bunch of ads for some sort of. I don't know. We're escaping from Afghanistan movie. It had Marky Mark.
Think about Iron Man has an one of the two wars. tie-in. Like I would argue that it's happening.
Think so? Okay. I totally believe that. And that's kind of one of my big things. Like, my big question was, is this just me? Because I don't watch shit?
Yeah. I think it's just you. And
Okay.
I think that Americans are perversely tied to global conflict, and their pride is perversely tied to that as well. And it's disgusting, but an easy way to manipulate audiences.
Okay.
Fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. So this brings me back to how I got started on this in the first place.
Okay.
You were talking about the kind of mass destruction thing, and I don't know if that's different in, just shit that I don't see. But one of the main differences between this movie and the Jason Bourne movies is the Jason Bourne movies are all about precision. Like, he's doing, like, these super, fast, not kung fu, but, martial arts, like Krav Maga bullshit, and, like, shooting, using one bullet to shoot one guy in a crowd and that type of thing. As opposed to this movie, where we'll get to it in 30 minutes.
Yeah. I already know what you're talking about.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is in a motel, and they just line up all of the other Universal soldiers with their biggest machine guns.
And level the building.
Like, so I'm not sure how, like...
And then compare that to, like, Predator. They do the same thing in Predator when they mow down the jungle.
It's very much like, and it very much reflects, because remember, 1992, effectively, the, Iraq won, woo. The big deal was all these smart bombs. We drop a bomb and it hits a building and kills a dude.
Right.
And
that turned out to not be a lie at all.
No, definitely not. And I mean, that narrative has kept going ever since then. We have these drones circling overhead. They can, like, drop a bomb on a dude, and certainly not a random wedding party.
They kill the perfect school bus full of children.
Yes.
Like, it knows what those children are growing up to be bad guys. Every single one of them.
Every single one. But that's that's the main way our military narrative today is different from Vietnam.
Right.
Like, it's, because we're just sending out these fucking dudes with machine guns, and
napalm was all about just causing as much fucking chaos as possible. And you're right. The narrative of the fucking war machine has definitely changed. Because it's more palatable to think that we're only directly killing bad guys, and not that everybody's a bad guy and we're killing everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm really universally, that's what war propaganda has been up until recently.
Yeah, pretty much.
Another thing it made me, I guess we should talk about when we get to that hotel scene, but I was reminded of, I think it was Hot Shots Part 2, where Charlie Sheen is machine gunning the village, and he's standing on a pile of growing casings, and there's like a bullet count in one corner and like a body count in another corner. And it's like a video game.
Absolutely.
And it was like, that was ironic. This in the movie was not played for irony at all.
Boy, I wonder if Hot Shots Part 2 is available. We should watch that. I have not seen that in 25 years, I'm sure. I bet I would enjoy literally every second of it. Loved you in Wall Street.
Yeah. War, it's fantastic. Which brings me to a point I wanted to bring about this movie. It's, even though only the first 5 minutes are in war, it feels more like a war movie than a cyberpunk movie.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Okay, so then we get on to minute 2 of the film. Like, this is before we have seen the credits.
We're going over an hour.
Yeah. Okay, so Van Damme finds out Dolph Lundgren has lost his shit. He's cutting ears off of people. He's executing civilians. He, blows this dude's fucking brains out, and this Vietnamese civilian lady runs off, and then he throws a grenade at her. It'll be the first of like 150 grenades.
I was going to bring that up too. This should not be called Universal Soldier. It's called Universal Grenadier. I don't know. It's so many grenades in this fucking movie.
Yeah, a lot of grenades.
But I wanted to point out when they shot that girl's husband, brother, boyfriend, whatever it was, that also shocked me. That felt like a very 90s movie. Like I feel like they would have maybe done it off screen or done it in a less brutal way, but he just blast the dude in the head.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. He definitely just blasted the dude in the head. So he executes these people. Then Jean-Claude Van Damme is like, no! With his ridiculous voice, charges him with his M16, stabs him with the bayonet, then twists the bayonet. It makes a special point of showing that.
Yeah, he does.
At which point, Dolph Lundgren pulls out his pistol and repeatedly shoots Jean-Claude Van Damme.
As Jean-Claude Van Damme is firing his M16 for some reason. I don't know why he stabbed him with it.
Flying through the air backwards. And they both, quote, die?
Yeah.
I mean, so then it's like the next day, and a guy from our neck of the woods, Fort Riley, Big Red 1, is putting him in body bags, and then some other guy says, put him on ice, and like makes a phone call.
Yeah.
And then it's the credits.
Good cold open. Universal Soldier. I'm hooked.
Yeah, we've got war crimes, we've got the G word, all in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Necklaces of ears. It's great.
Yeah. Coming in hot.
Man, an ear necklace. That is a shorthand you don't see often enough.
So after that, it cuts to the Hoover Dam?
Yes. It certainly does.
Weird place for a hostage negotiation. So we're at a hostage negotiation at the Hoover Dam. Now, as I was a child brought up in the 80s and 90s watching these types of movies, I was led to believe in my adulthood there would be a lot more hostage situations happening in the world.
Yeah, I assumed I would be in at least one or two by my age now.
Turns out our cool dystopia that we actually got doesn't bother with hostages. People just go in and mass murder constantly, like twice today, I believe, if I remember right from Twitter.
Yeah, as far as I know. And I mean, I haven't been on Twitter for 45 minutes, so it could have gone up.
Number 3 could have happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Sucks. Hate it. Bad times. It's an awful world.
Not great. Don't like it.
At least hostage, you get a chance for
stop.
Dolph Lundgren to come in and save your life.
Yeah. So then,
is hostage negotiator even a real job? I was led to believe that was going to be like one of the most important jobs.
Yeah, I figured we would get recruited for that by guidance counselors in high school.
Yes, so important in movies. Not a thing.
No, apparently it doesn't exist.
Did I ever tell you about the time I had to? I'm sure I did. When I was working for the police and dispatch, I had to find a hostage negotiator. Yes, I was a pig pusher.
You hated that.
I did. I had to find one that spoke Laotian.
Yes,
it was interesting.
Yeah,
it was. They had the negotiator. I needed to find an interpreter for the negotiator that spoke Laotian in Emporia, Kansas, because we had a hostage situation. It was and then when we found her, we had to convince her to go to an active hostage situation by telling her, "You're the only person in town that speaks Laotian."
Yeah,
that was the fun part of that job, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a hostage situation. I don't know. Some bad guys took some hostages at the Hoover Dam. They're executing one every 15 minutes unless their allies get freed from federal prison or something. Then we see this big weird airplane land, which is called a Super Guppy.
Yeah, it's a very cool airplane.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat airplane. Just because it looked goofy as all shit.
They definitely got some of that military funding.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A lot of military equipment being flown around for no reason in this scene in particular.
Yeah, and then a totally sweet fucking RV pulls out of it.
RV, I'd call it an 18-wheeler. It was a big-ass truck.
Yeah, it was very cool. I have in my notes, these guys, Unisols, have a pretty cool RV.
Maybe the coolest special effect of the movie is anything involving that truck.
Yeah, it like blows fucking steam out all the time.
Yeah, it looked really good. I'm not even talking shit.
Yeah, I'd drive that.
I'm sure they spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah. And then we see the inside of the RV, and it's like all cool science labby, and we see the best actor and character in this movie, Dr. Woodward, played by Leon Rippey, who is fucking great. He was Tom Nuttall of the Number 10 Saloon in Deadwood.
Oh shit, that's it. I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought he might have been that guy, but I'm like, nah, he doesn't look enough. He doesn't look weird enough.
Nope, he is absolutely. I saw him on screen and just about shat my pants. Like, holy shit, this movie might be survivable after all.
His part wasn't survivable.
You
know, that's up in the air. You don't
see him die.
We are taught in this movie, if you don't see someone die, no matter what harrowing experience,
yes,
it doesn't mean they're dead.
Yeah. Okay, so then, so it turns out there are these invincible super soldiers who can, like, run really fast and shoot really good. And they've all got Desert Eagle Magnums. And they take care of the hostage situation. At the same time, there is a lady journalist, which is another, like, honestly, I expected that by the time I was my current age, I would have dated at least 5 to 12 lady journalists based on how often lady journalists were in movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like...
Think about the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it seemed like most of the female population was lady journalists because they couldn't be hostage negotiators.
There are quite a few of them out there, especially.
There are, but... Because
you can just call yourself a journalist now. You don't have to actually be employed by a paper or network or anything.
Oh, good point.
I mean,
journalette? Is that what we're looking at?
No, we are not. This is not that fucking Michael Douglas movie. Officer Et. Officer Et.
Anyway,
Falling Down. That's the movie I'm talking about.
Yes. With an incredible performance by a great actor who is unfortunately tied to the most horrible character in all of cinema, Frederick Forrest. Yes, I'm talking about the skinhead pawn shop owner.
Yes.
That dude played Dashiell Hammett in a movie and was incredible. He's also the most consequential character in The Conversation.
But he will always be the Officer S fucking Nazi guy.
Yeah.
That Michael Douglas murders.
Yeah. It's, yeah. Maybe that's a movie we should fucking watch sometime.
Every movie made before 2000 we're going to say that about.
I know.
I don't know if that movie would hold up. I'm kind of afraid to watch that one without.
Oh, I'm guessing it is going to be a problem, but if nothing else, it'll be a really fucking interesting set of conversations.
For one thing, I am so tired of the lone white guy gunman out for revenge. Like I just can't do it anymore because it's become too real.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see it in my escapist shit.
Okay,
Anyway.
let's watch The Conversation instead.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. So they take care of so the lady journalist shows up. She's pretty fucking cool. She's smoking. She's got a pork pie hat. And she's told by her producer that she doesn't play the game by the fucking rules.
Yeah, she's a journalist that's out to get a story at all costs, even though she shows up late.
Yeah.
I was surprised I hadn't seen her in more stuff. She's worked pretty regularly, but she's not like famous.
Yeah, I looked her up and I had seen Allie Scott?
Allie Walker.
Walker. Okay.
She's definitely had a lot of work, and I've seen her in other things, but she's pretty good in this. Like, her and Dolph were the high points for me.
Yeah, she is really she is not given a huge amount to work with. Shockingly, as a woman in a early 1990s action film, yeah, she is not given a ton.
Yeah, she's more like, I don't know. She's kind of comic relief. She's constantly talking. She's played like a child. Like if they have a child character that accompanies the main character who's just constantly talking and asking questions, and she honestly plays, her lines are more like that of a child than a grown-ass woman.
Yeah, but I think she did as literally as good a job as any human could have with this bullshit.
Yes, while maintaining fantastic hair.
Yes.
My wife noted, and I noted, that her hair is amazing throughout the whole movie.
That is absolutely true. So the hostage situation gets taken care of. A bunch of guys get shot in the head. It doesn't matter because they're bad guys.
Yeah,
I guess.
So we kill.
Yeah.
No trial necessary.
And
guilty until proven dead.
Yeah. But see, during, like, when the hostages are being released, Jean-Claude Van Damme, who is now, even though it's 25 years later, he looks the same as he did in Vietnam, and so does Dolph Lundgren. It's really weird. Don't worry about it. Jean-Claude Van Damme sees this couple that look like the Vietnamese people.
Because
Dolph
they're
Lundgren.
Also Asian.
Yes, and in fact, they were the same actors.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. I thought, no, I have to be being racist. They wouldn't do that to me.
They're not going to give 4 Asian actors parts in this film.
Yeah, it turned out that, yes, they were cost cutting and used the same actors.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's not great. Or maybe, I don't know, it's a metaphor. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So he locks up and starts to have a flashback to him and Vietnam and shooting Dolph Lundgren, whatever. So then all the Universal soldiers go back to their cool fucking RV, and Veronica follows them. So it turns out in this RV is a freezer, because they have to be kept cool. This is an important point for the rest of the film.
Yes, it's their kryptonite. They have to be cold.
Yeah.
So fucking dumb and arbitrary.
It's not great. And they're like trying to run diagnostics on him. I don't know. It's not important. It's super not important.
Why did he hesitate to follow an order? Oh, well.
Yeah. She investigates, opens up a giant footlocker outside of the RV, and finds one of the Universal soldiers who got shot during the hostage situation, who is an actor named Rolf Muller, who later most notably appears in Gladiator.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's just a giant German dude.
Why did they throw him outside?
That is entirely unclear to me. You would think he would do better. He would do better in the cryogenic chamber.
Yeah,
but
it couldn't. Like, it's the doctor who comes out and his hands are all bloody. He's like, they always give me these shitty jobs, and I don't understand why they were putting him outside. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea. That was confusing. Anyway, she sees him and is like taking some pictures, and then his eyes open, and she's like, "Whoa!" And then
camera.
Yeah, they catch her on a security camera. She runs back to the very nice station wagon, which I note is complete with dash mat.
Oh yeah.
I miss dash mats.
I do too.
Going back to our recommendos earlier in the program. Apparently dash mats are still a fucking thing in Australia. Like, they're in about half the cars on Mr. In Between. I assume it's because of the greater UV radiation.
Yeah, got to protect that vinyl.
But it makes me feel like it gives me a warm, comforting feeling every time I see it.
I remember buying a couple of them throughout my life.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Mainly because Dashes cracked a lot and you wanted to cover it.
Yeah. So then it's... she's being pursued by the Universal soldiers in a K5 Blazer, And then it's the shortest car chase in history.
Yeah, they immediately drive into a ramp and flip over.
Yes, and flip over and like catch fire.
They didn't even try to steer around it. They just drove immediately at a building.
Yeah, it was the shortest chase in history, which will be interestingly contrasted towards the end of the film.
True. We got to have 2 car chases. They have to average 9 minutes apiece. Well, this first one's only going to be 8 seconds.
Yes.
Second one's got to be 18 minutes then.
So then her cameraman gets executed by Dolph Lundgren. Jean-Claude Van Damme is still confused because of the flashback he had. I don't know. She pulls his 1984 Sony Walkman headphones off, complete with apparently, orange earmuff.
Apparently these 2 are the only ones that suffer memories of their old lives, because all the other Universal soldiers function pretty well.
Yeah, they seem to. Also, Tiny Lister is in this, so that was pretty
he's one of the soldiers.
See.
I also wanted to point out, this is the point where I'm like starting to wonder, are these guys full of cybernetics? Is it drugs? Is it necromantic magic? They don't get into it.
No, they never really don't. There is no explanation beyond...
They have to be cold.
They have to be cold. And then I think the word genetic is thrown around a couple of times.
Yeah. We do know they were dead for at least 24 hours before they were revived. They mentioned that in the beginning. So if we're trying to dig into the lore, I don't know what's bringing these guys back to life. There is some injection they have to take, but I don't know if that's like a cooling injection or...
It appears to be radiator fluid, like antifreeze. Based on the one shot we see of it, it appears to be a needle full of, not like the orange modern antifreeze, the old stuff, the green shit.
Yeah. The stuff that your dog would lick up and die.
Yeah, it's a horse injection needle of antifreeze.
So, I don't know. I guess for the sake of this podcast, we have to assume it's cybernetics, or else why are we watching this fucking garbage?
Yeah.
So, but it really could be anything. It could be, they could have a necromancer on that bus.
Yeah, we don't know. We just don't fucking know.
The headsets they're wearing with the cameras look cybernetic until she just whips it off like it's nothing. Yeah, it's just a weird eyepiece they're wearing.
It's literally held to his head by the headphones of a Sony Walkman 1985.
Also, they have the technology to bring soldiers back from the dead and make them super soldier killing machines, but the cameras they strap onto their eyes
are a Game
Nintendo.
Boy Advance.
Yeah. They're looking through their cameras and it's
shot on a Game Boy cam.
Yeah, pretty much. It's bad. It's real bad.
It's really not great, but yet it is capable of utter magic at a couple of points.
So now what we've got is a very muscly, tanned man with a European accent protecting a
what accent?
Tough as nails lady out on her own as they drive around the American Southwest. Does that sound
Southwest?
Does that sound familiar to anybody out there?
I've never heard of this before in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
This movie is such a ripoff of Terminator. It makes me angry.
How did your wife feel about this movie?
I mean, she had fun watching it. We were making fun of it. We had a little bit of fun watching this but also my wife likes shitty old movies.
I, however, am a good husband and did not even consider putting my wife through this shit.
Well, that's the thing. If it was something that I knew she would hate, I wouldn't. But I thought there was a chance she might like this, and we did have fun watching it. Okay. I had to actually at one point tell her to say, "Honey, you have to be quiet. I've got to talk about this tomorrow. We can't just constantly be making fun of it." But
well, I'm glad you had a good time.
I'm sorry, dude. I am happy to say it was only 102 minutes. So
still felt
long.
So long. Remember how we were saying Ghost in the Shell 84 minutes. So could have used more. Ran fast.
Loved it. This movie only a few minutes longer, felt twice as long.
Yeah. Yeah, I was amazed that first time I watched it. I looked at the clock, paused it, and I was like, how has it only been 45 minutes? I swear to God, this movie should be fucking over.
Yeah. Anyway, so they go to a hotel because that's what you did in 80s movies. You always ended up at a motel.
And honestly, it's a pretty cool motel. Oh, one of the things before that. Okay, so she pulls the headset off of him because he's just following orders. Like somebody in the RV, they're yelling at him, "Stop the truck!" And he stops the truck. He is driving away with the girl in.
Yeah, he's like compelled to follow orders, but also doesn't want to.
Yeah. So she pulls the headset off and throws it out the truck. Then at a certain point later, there's not a clear sense of time. Even though this movie keeps saying day 2, day 3.
I thought that was actual time passing.
Yeah. Yes,
Day
it
3
did.
of watching this movie.
Yes. Oh God. She starts making some noise about how, oh my God, you're shot. We need to stop that bleeding. He hits the cigarette lighter in the K5 Blazer they're driving.
Yeah, I don't have those anymore.
Literally no car lighter ever heated that fast because it's like click and then it pops out and he uses it to cauterize his wound.
If you wanted a cigarette back then and planned to use the car lighter, you had to plan in advance.
I'm
going to want a cigarette in 10 minutes. So let's
put the car lighter in, then pull the pack out, then put the cigarette into your mouth, and then sit there for a minute waiting for it to tink.
Yeah. But yeah, he cauterizes the wound.
Yeah. I just that was maybe the fakest thing in this movie. The cigarette lighter being instantly available.
Was it as fake as the seat belts in the car they get into next?
Those were totally accurate because that Buick did not have fucking seat belts when it existed.
Exactly. I was like, I guess they added them aftermarket so that they could have the whole conversation about keeping her safe because there's no way that car would have had shoulder straps.
My assumption, honestly, okay, so we're
getting ahead of ourselves.
We see a couple of points. That's true. We see a couple of points that car has a rent-a-wreck license plate on the front. So that was a rental car, which I'm sure that no normal humans remember this. Rental cars had to have seatbelts. So that beautiful 53 Buick got some seatbelts bolted into it by probably the Kurt Russell character in fucking Used Cars, which also takes place in this area.
Yeah. We loved the Southwest in the early 90s, didn't we?
We certainly did.
And we still love it today.
We do. Hey,
sorry about the lack of water, guys.
Speaking of which, I'll see you in a month, baby. Whew.
All right, let's press on. They go to the motel. Veronica wants to find a phone. JCVD, I don't remember his character name.
Needs to pull his hog out.
Yes, he needs to get cold. He's too hot. So he goes in to get a room. She goes to a payphone. Payphone doesn't work. The guy running the motel, one of the better characters in the movie.
The price bit that he has going is pretty good. Like he's seeing her wallet as he's tallying up the price. Like, and an extra $20 damages fee, baby.
Not worried about repeat customers here. It's like everybody who comes here ain't coming back. So get what I can.
Yeah.
But
it'll be a double occupancy. That's an extra $10.
They do get a room, and they retire to it.
It is right at this point where they are pulling into the hotel / gas station,
right?
Because the fuel truck will arrive in the morning.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
right. We missed out. They ran out of gas, and so Jean-Claude had to push the truck at 30 miles an hour.
That was a kind of funny bit.
Yeah.
So they pull into this hotel, and then it immediately cuts to the RV, where one of the techs says, "We're 7 miles directly behind them. We'll be there in 4 minutes," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's another 25 minutes of movie.
Yeah.
Before they arrive. And then another 48 minutes after that, that the assault begins.
Like, why say that?
I do not know. It was insane.
I will say, in regards to the pushing the car and the hotel owner, the comedic bits of this movie, for the most part, are pretty good. Like, I got some genuine laughs watching this.
There are some chuckles. And that is honestly, I would say,
the saving grace of it. The only thing that makes it not...
only thing that makes it vaguely watchable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree, because the story's dumb. The action's... It's over the top. I mean, I guess if that's what you're into, it's cool. But the jokes are actually timed well. They're put in spots where you need jokes, and they hit pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it works. So she can't make a phone call. The Universal soldiers show up, start shooting shit. It was nice to see right in this scene that this is sort of a Universal colors of Universal Soldier scenario. There's an Asian one. There's a black one. So that's nice, I guess.
There's a French Louisiana one.
What accent?
Another comedic part of the movie, but it's not like Terminator where like this robot from the future just has an Austrian accent for some reason and they never talk about it. They multiple times make note of his accent, and when he goes home you find out why he has an accent. They don't just let it exist. They explain it. They give it more backstory than they give to why these Universal soldiers are able to function.
But honestly, it somehow doesn't matter.
No, of course it doesn't matter.
It still sounds terrible and stupid. Okay, so then and a firefight.
There was a firefight, and this is what we were talking about earlier, where they just decide to, instead of going in and finding him and killing him, they level the motel with machine guns.
Yes, they just line up outside with their biggest machine guns and start shooting through the walls. This is the point at which we discover that the visors are somehow magic and they can detect body heat and specific guns, not just the concept of weapons, but like Desert Eagle. Oh, there's the Desert Eagle Magnum 357.
Thermographic vision, low light vision, gun
vision,
identification, and a camera that looks like it was taken off of a microwave touch screen from 1901.
So anyway, they end up doing this big fucking firefight, and Jean-Claude Van Damme starts, I don't know, just ramming through walls with his shoulder for some reason.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. It's not that impressive.
He has had time to soak in an ice bath for, I guess, an hour or 4 minutes. I guess
it's
the 4 minutes.
Yeah. The time isn't great in this movie. They don't do a good job with the temporal geography of this film.
No, they go from Utah to Louisiana.
Yes, literally like 8 hours. It's like noon in Utah when they crash the bus, but it's still the same day.
Yes.
Yeah. So he goes crashing through some motel walls. Oh, there's these kids who are fucking in one of the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a comedy bit where he and Victoria are eating Veronica, sorry. Veronica's eating some puss and he's sucking dick under the covers.
And the gun comes up. I did like that. The gun slides up from under the covers.
Yeah. So they steal their car, which is this really nice, I think it's a 55 Buick.
Yeah.
It's referred to repeatedly as a wreck, which is unfair.
It wasn't in great shape.
I mean, it was all right, and then they fucked it up.
They definitely did fuck it up.
Yeah. So then they drive away and go to a gas station in the middle of nowhere.
Did they go to the gas station first or the diner? No, the diner's later.
Gas station first. I specifically wrote down the chronology list of this movie because I knew I wouldn't be able to remember it because it sort of doesn't matter.
It's kind of a road trip movie when you think
it begins at Hoover Dam and ends in Louisiana. Everything else is just kind of blah.
Yeah. With stops in Utah and, well, not quite California, but almost.
Yeah. So
The gas station. Yeah, this scene. So we skipped that when he was taking his ice bath. He back at the motel. He did hop out and show his full frontal nudity to Veronica and his full back nudity to us.
Yes, you understand that as a universal soldier who's had his memory wiped, he feels no sense of his God-given shame.
Almost as if he was a robot from the future who had to time travel here nude.
And didn't understand that people need to wear clothing.
Right. They're similar, but not the same.
Similar,
the important thing is that both movies
but legally distinct.
Yes, legally distinct.
Similar, but legally distinct.
Oh my God, it makes me mad how badly this movie ripped off Terminator. Like, Terminator was just a huge hit, and they're like, we can do that.
Yeah.
Get Emmerich on this. He can do that.
Yeah, sure. Why not? This guy who's directed, I don't know, Piranha 8. It worked for the first one. It worked for the first one. Actually, shit, I didn't even think. Okay, so this came out in 92. That was the same year as Terminator 2.
I thought Terminator 2 came out before. I thought it was 90 for some reason. I don't know. I'll look it up while you continue recapping. We must speed.
Oh God, do I have to continue? Okay, so they go to a gas station. He has her search for something unnatural and hard.
Oh my God.
On his body, which apparently the best
91.
way to do that.
It came out the year before this. Like this is a direct response to T2.
Okay, that makes more sense and yet less sense at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah, he strips down nude again. She makes a joke about it. You're seeming to get naked a lot. And he says, you have to feel around my body for something hard. Okay. I remember earlier when I said that the jokes hit for the most part. This one, maybe not so much.
This one, the jokes hit for the most part, except when they are uttered by Jean-Claude Van Damme, who is maybe the least actor and charismatic actor known to man.
He is so bad at this role where he's supposed to basically be playing a robot.
And the amazing thing is, like, even though I've never liked Jean-Claude Van Damme, I've seen a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme shit just because of my age.
I don't want to sit here and talk shit on the guy. He seems to be a perfectly fine dude. Just not my favorite in this film.
Like, he is somehow worse. Like, he is somehow fucking worse than literally all the other dudes who were in his position.
Yeah.
Like, as a performer. Like, Steven Seagal is... he is a horrible fucking actor. He's not even a good martial artist, but somehow he manages to carry movies better than fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Does he?
He did, back at this time frame.
Did he?
Yeah!
I think that's going to require a little more research. I think I could challenge that, and we could make a podcast on it.
God.
We would
no, I will not. You can join Sean for that shit. I am not getting involved. In fact, I am not listening.
Oh my God. Who's worse, JCVD or Steven Seagal? I know as a person who's worse, Steven Seagal wins that hands down.
I absolutely agree, even though I've heard some, let's say, troubling things about JCVD.
Okay. Good. I'm glad it would be he'd put up a fight.
His most relatable performance was as a van in Sense8.
Okay. I remember enjoying the actual JCVD movie where he played himself.
I found that to be better than I expected, but still, I don't know.
I remember nothing about it, so it obviously didn't leave a huge impact on me.
It was one of those things where, like, I get what you're going for. I don't think this is as good as you feel it is.
Yeah.
It's that movie is trying for the unbearable weight of massive talent and failing miserably at it.
Right. Yeah, but it did come before, so maybe, I don't know.
That's true.
This point in the movie that we're talking about where she's feeling for something hard, and she does, in fact, touch his junk, and he says, is that supposed to be there? And she says, yes, that's supposed to be there. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the point where my wife and I were like, is there supposed to be a romantic connection here? Because if there is zero chemistry between these two actors.
Oh, I completely disagree. There is negative 1,000.
You're right. Zero was.
Yeah, zero is vastly overestimating the amount.
They never, like, there's some affection shown towards the end. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they weren't going for a romantic connection between these two. Because if they were, it was a drastic failure.
If I didn't know what year this movie came out and understood the capabilities of special effects in 1992, I would have assumed that these two actors never saw each other, never interacted on a set. It was all just like green screen CGI shit.
Yes.
Like, that is how little charisma and connection they have.
It's also kind of mind-boggling to think that they wouldn't, though, because this was during a time period where every movie had a romantic connection. Like,
every movie was horny somehow.
Right. And this movie shoehorns in some horniness in this scene mainly.
The interesting thing about this movie, and look, I don't know literally anything about Roland Emmerich other than the movies he's directed.
Yeah.
But okay, in the 80s and fucking first half of the 90s, like, one of the defining things about movies, especially action movies, was if there is a lady, there'll be some TNA.
Yeah. There was all man TNA in this.
This movie does not go anywhere near that. It just has naked, muscly fucking dudes.
Feminist masterpiece, Universal Soldier.
I mean, okay, there's only literally one woman in the entire movie.
No, there's the Asian one that gets away.
Okay, so that's true. All right, so okay, I guess
there's the old lady. We skipped over it, but the motel keeper's mother has a great scene where she's watching JCVD naked in the parking lot, and she's like doing this lick-lipping, eyebrow waggling thing, which I enjoyed quite a bit.
Does this movie pass the Bechdel test? No, I don't think two women ever have a conversation.
No, two women do not have a conversation in this movie.
Anyway, this movie is, in a very specific way, extremely horny for dudes, which, okay, good for them.
This is a gay man's movie. Absolutely.
I would be very curious to hear, like, because up until this moment, I sort of hadn't thought about it, but I wonder if there's subtext I didn't catch.
If you're a gay man listener, and you know who we're talking about here, let us know what you think of this movie and its intended audience.
Yeah, because it honestly, because I'm a modern man from the 2020s, it didn't occur to me until moments ago that, like, oh yeah, there's not even like a bra and panties shot of Veronica.
No, she's wearing very loose-fitting, flowing clothes. I mean, she looks great, but she's definitely not sexualized in this movie at all.
Yeah,
which is refreshing for an 80s movie, frankly.
It
Let's
really
give this
is.
movie its credit where it's due, because it does a little of it.
Now that I've realized it, okay, yeah, that and the humor are the only things that are keeping this afloat.
like I said when we started, it's not a complete dog. Like, I didn't finish watching this movie feeling like this was going to be hard to get through, because I knew there was good enough things to talk about, and that some of the bad things were funny enough to talk about, that it would probably be a pretty good episode of our show.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are definitely movies probably starring JCVD out there that I would just feel like that was a waste of time, and I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to keep going with the recap. So,
yeah. Okay. So,
did she find something hard or not?
She finds something hard. He cuts it out of his leg. She's like, "Oh!"
This also feels like an homage to another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
He
finds a tracking device in his body. He has to pull it out. It's big and painful.
Yeah,
but legally distinct.
Legally distinct. Then the other Universal soldiers show up in their cool fucking party RV at this gas station, but because they know that there was this tracking device in them, they were able to hide along with the gas station owner in the trunks of a bunch of cars
that they fill with ice.
Which, by the
one
way,
for the gas station owner.
yes. Which, by the way, I saw an item on IMDb trivia. Apparently, all of the ice for this movie, and there is a lot of it.
Yes, quite a bit of
all of the ice, some like 700 fucking pounds, was bought from a single 7-Eleven in I think it's where they shot this movie was Kingsman, Arizona, mostly.
Oh man!
So they bought all the ice from this one 7-Eleven, which caused the 7-Eleven manager to get some award for highest ice sales or something.
I like to imagine Roland Emmerich and JCVD just walking into the 7-Eleven like, I can't do a French accent, but I can't do it at all. I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah,
asking for ice. It's a hilarious visual.
Okay, here, actually, I found the IMDb trivia item. Nearly all of the ice required for filming, an estimated 400 kilograms, came from a local 7-Eleven in Arizona. Manager of that store, Joaquim Alvarez, it's nice that he gets some notice, was even invited on a tour of the Nugget Ice Corporation factory as his sales figures were so impressively high.
They fucking love showing this ice. Like when they come upon his bathtub, guy takes a handful of ice and looks at it. At the end of this gas station scene, they hang a hat on a dude picking up ice, and his commander says, "Yes, it's fucking ice. Get over it." Like,
yeah, this movie was sponsored by the concept of ice.
And, well, spoiler alert, but at the end we get a little extra ice during the credits, but we'll save that for later.
That is absolutely true. Okay, so they figured out the tracking device, and then they set a trap for the other Universal soldiers by spraying gasoline all over the place, and
quite an elaborate trap for the little bit of time they had to prepare for it. Plus, not necessarily. I mean, I guess they knew they were coming because they had the tracking device.
Yeah. So yeah, a bunch of the Asian guy and Tiny Lister get fucking smoked.
Burned because heat is bad, remember, so fire is particularly bad. Something you might think about if you were making a super soldier that might be going into hot situations with explosions and whatever. We won't think about it too hard.
Don't worry about it. Then they being Jean-Claude Van Damme and Luke, that's his name.
Luke, that's it.
L-U-K.
C.
Luke and Victoria just walk into the trailer, the RV, and grab a couple of large armloads of files.
Sure, they forgot to lock it when they went out.
Yeah, and then they jump back into their Buick with these armloads of files, and it turns out that Dolph Lundgren hopped into their Buick in the back seat and laid down for a minute.
I guess he expected them to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. And fortunately, he had told her to put her seatbelt on. So he slams the car into a giant rock, and Dolph Lundgren goes flying out, and they take off.
I feel like this happened a lot in 90s movies where some person without a seatbelt would get thrown from a car where the hero remembered to buckle his belt. As like,
I feel like the NHTSB, I feel like they were funding movies, sort of like the Navy gave a bunch of money to Top Gun.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke and Victoria go to a diner where they look through all the files. They find out the name of this military doctor who is in charge of all the development of the Universal Soldier program.
God, we're only halfway through.
The rest of it should be pretty easy, I guess. And it turns out it's Jerry Orbach. We'll find that out later. Victoria goes to the shitter and is dumping out.
No, she goes to a payphone.
Oh, that's right.
This ain't Joey Potter.
Yeah. While Luke fights the entire population of the diner because he's stupid and food is good.
He loves eating that food.
So that's sure, whatever.
It was kind of funny. It was kind of a funny scene to take the edge off of all the mass murder that had been happening up to this point.
I guess. I don't know. It really felt like a fucking Terminator ripoff.
It was. The whole fucking movie is.
Just like that. I don't know what specifically about that really felt like a Terminator ripoff. Like
it's like the beginning fight. It's beginning of Terminator 2 when he goes into the bar and all the locals are looking at him weird, and he fights them all and takes their clothes. Except this time he fights them all and takes their food.
Like, hey, you're right. The only thing missing is "Hasta la vista, baby."
Yeah. How do you say that? And what's the French version of "Hasta la vista"?
Oh God, I do not know. I am.
I'm gonna Google it.
To my former advisor's dismay, my handle on French is not that strong. Okay, so that's the end. Then we cut to a fucking truck stop.
I can't speak French, but un de ses quatre, baby. I don't. If only I spoke French, this joke would kill. It would kill.
It would kill. Mike, send us an email.
Send us a voice note you saying "Hasta la vista, baby" in French. Or I realized our newer patron Eddie also speaks French because he's from the secret land of French people on the North American continent.
Oh, so he and Mike are from the same province?
Same general area. We have pull in that part of Canada, I guess.
Weird. Sure.
All right. He doesn't kill. He maims all the local townsfolk and takes their specials and a little thing of popcorn.
Yeah. So that was basically useless.
At this point, is this the point where the rest of the remaining Universal soldiers show up in the supermarket?
Oh wait, yeah, that might. Let me see.
It is because he's trying to get the bodies that were hurt.
Nope, not quite. Next is the truck stop.
Oh my God.
So the Universal soldiers stop at a truck stop. Everybody at the truck stop looks at this giant fucking 18-wheeler RV scenario as it pulls up. Dolph Lundgren is like, I'm looking for this man, and I'm looking for this fucking traitor and this AWOL female blonde in a 53 Buick.
Yeah. Right. And everybody's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he like holds one upside down and
and like ninja kicks the others. That part's not important.
Really not important. Really didn't need to exist at all.
The only thing that's important about this is that Leon Rippey, Dr. Woodward, who has survived through this whole fucking run, he has one of the Universal soldiers who is still inside the RV. He hands the Universal soldier, I think this was the German guy from Gladiator, takes a pin out of a grenade and says, you've
been ordered to hold this for 30 seconds and then drop it.
Yeah, and then the Universal soldier doesn't let go of his hand?
He grabs the grenade and his hand and holds them both there until 30 seconds passes, and drops the grenade, and ostensibly they all blow up.
Yeah, so this is the point at which we...
It's so pointless. Like, why is that scene there? Other than to kill this doctor.
I honestly think I think there must have been a point at which they realized, this doctor, and there were like 3 other Universal soldiers who escaped the gas station shootout.
Yeah.
We need to figure out why they don't appear in the third act at all.
Thin them out. All right, let's go. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Lean and tight.
Then the Universal soldiers all go to a fucking grocery store, at which point one of them is just gnawing on a giant raw porterhouse.
Yeah.
And another is trying to be regenerated in the fucking meat locker, and Dolph Lundgren starts screaming.
This is where Dolph maintains or achieves his final form.
Yes.
He becomes the Dolph we know and love and starts ranting about how everyone's a traitor and they all deserve to die, and he just becomes crazy lunatic Dolph Lundgren that we love.
Yeah. And he shoots a couple of cops, no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so during the grocery store scene, they go. Luke and Victoria go to Veronica, go to the doctor who is in charge of the Universal Soldiers program,
Jerry Orbach in Utah.
Jerry Orbach, which is in Utah.
They go from Arizona to Utah. I know they're not that far away, but you still have to imagine it would take a good part of a day to get there. But
it's a 10 to 12 minute drive.
Yeah, for them it is.
So they go to Jerry Orbach's house.
These are big states, the size of many European countries.
Yeah, they go to Jerry Orbach's house. He explains, like, I don't know.
He explains nothing.
You were dead. Fucking genetics. You got to be kept cold. Like, literally nothing.
This scene is absolutely pointless.
It is. It isn't even a red herring. It doesn't even qualify as that.
It tells us nothing we don't already know. It explains nothing. It's dumb and pointless. And really, this is all the attention it deserves. It's got Jerry Orbach. I guess that's good.
So then Dolph Lundgren says, here, let me put you on a bus, go back to LA, file your story, whatever, and I'm going to go to my house, which they found out from the files is in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. And then they do the classic move where she gets on the bus, but she's like, no, I can't leave you because I am in love with you, maybe. Or maybe I just really care about you as a friend, or perhaps you're my dad. I'm not sure exactly what the relationship is.
And they're immediately arrested.
Yeah, they did the classic gag where the bus pulls away and there's just lines of cops.
Yeah. So then they're in this school bus.
It's a prison transport for some fucking reason.
It's a prison transport school bus. They're escorted by 2 cop cars. They're ripping down the highway. Then the longest car chase without a driver in human history, to contrast with the shortest car chase
with a driver.
Yes. So the RV catches up with them because apparently Dolph Lundgren knows how to listen to a CB radio, I guess.
Yeah. That's fair. He was monitoring the not the CB but the scanner.
Yeah. So in the first 45 seconds of this car chase, he kills the driver of the school bus.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah,
kills the driver, and then the bus is just weaving around, just continuing.
Just going, man, for another 19 and a half minutes.
Yeah, at least. Meanwhile, for the entire 19 and a half minute, Dolph Lundgren, every 15 seconds, is throwing a grenade at it.
Yes, it is. It's like a video game. I can't put my finger on which video game it is, but it is a specific video game.
It's like Super Mario Brothers. Is it 3? Whatever. When you've got to like run across the train and all the bullet bills are shooting at you.
Oh yes, I think that's correct.
It might not be 3. It might be Super Mario World or something. I don't know. Yeah. But one of the Super Mario Brothers, when you're running across a train or a boat. No, it's a boat scene. That's what it is. And there's all the bullet bills and bombs are flying at you. He's just tossing grenades in the bus, and Veronica is gingerly picking them up and putting them out holes that have been blown in the bus.
Yes.
It's the dumbest fucking car chase.
It is utterly terrible.
While Luke is trying to get to the driver's seat and like jimmying a lock with wires he pulled out of the bus seat.
Yeah, entirely unsuccessfully. Like he does nothing useful.
Finally, he gets there. He opens the door. He says, "We're gonna jump." He says, "You got to jump." She's like, "I'm not leaving without you because I am maybe in love with you, or no,
or maybe you're my dad.
Maybe we're related somehow." But and then he's like, "Fine, we'll jump together." And then he pushes her out on her own, and doesn't drive off the cliff, but does maneuver so that Dolph Lundgren and his giant RV go off the cliff.
And I would note, in the middle of that car chase is a Party Down reference. Dolph Lundgren says, "Are we having fun yet?"
Yes, Dolph Lundgren is in full lunatic mode, cracking wise every scene his face is in.
And the thing about his performance in this movie is, I don't think the director understood. Like, I don't think Roland Emmerich understood that this was comedy that Dolph Lundgren was doing. Like,
I don't know, man. I don't know how you could see it as anything else.
Dolph Lundgren is clearly giving a comedy performance,
Yeah.
However, it is in no way like, I don't know, there should be something different.
You ever watch like a parody movie and before they're like parodying an action movie and they have to do a quip before a kill? This movie does that in all seriousness 8,000 times.
Yeah,
where they do a little quip or a pun before they kill somebody.
Yeah, it's fucking deranged.
The important thing is, though, that the RV, RIP, too good for this world, goes over the cliff, explodes. Clearly, anybody that was in it was dead. Who could possibly survive that? We don't need to go check. We know he's dead.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Let's go back and lead. If somebody was alive, sure, they would follow us back to our home and kill my parents, but that didn't happen. We're safe. So let's immediately go back to my house and to my parents who don't really speak at all.
Yes, although it is interesting to note that apparently Jean-Claude Van Damme is the brother of Ron and Clint Howard.
Okay.
Because Rand Howard played his dad.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Classic 40s and 50s character actor Rand Howard.
Didn't have a lot to work with in this film. Didn't really speak at all.
He
just kind of clutched his wife and looked scared.
Yeah. What wasn't his finest performance, but
no, that's okay. Got paid.
Yeah, that's the important thing. So yeah, they drive across the entirety of New Mexico and Texas, and based on the landscape, a good portion of Louisiana, except that there are mountains in the background.
They get to Louisiana, like they do not give the impression of time passing. It feels like it took a couple hours for them to get from Utah to Louisiana.
Yeah. And they did it in a stolen cop car.
In a stolen cop car. Never got hassled along the way.
No.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's not good. And I mean, look, I haven't been to every corner of Louisiana. I've been to Louisiana a little bit. Do not remember any of the mountains in the on the skyline in Louisiana at all.
Ozarks, kind of? No.
No, they're north of that.
Yeah, they are.
Anywho, it turns out that Luke's mom is a Cajun, and his dad is Ron Howard's dad.
Which is why she speaks French when they show up.
Yeah, and he has no accent.
If I was a person who mainly spoke French, but also spoke English, and someone came to my door as I was living in America, I would greet them by saying, bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Oui, oui. But yeah, they have a reunion. He sees pictures of his old platoon. She's like, how are you alive? And you haven't changed at all in 25 years. And they don't ever get into why he didn't age.
No.
Perhaps the Universal Soldiers are immortal. Perhaps they intended to make sequels of this till the end of time.
Possibly. And then Veronica's going to take off and file her story now that he's been delivered safely to his home. So she goes out to the car and the keys aren't in it. Apparently they just left the keys in the stolen cop car out in the front driveway.
Well, what are you going to do with the keys?
And it turns out Dolph Lundgren's there. And also he grabs Jean-Claude Van Damme's mom and dad. And
before that bus exploded, he grabbed a sack of grenades, baby.
He did grab a sack of grenades, and at some point he picked up a fucking rattlesnake rattle that he tied into his hair.
Also, let's point out how fucking based he is.
Okay.
He's got a vest on, and it's covered in cops' badges that you have to assume he took without their consent.
Yeah, you are not wrong. Dolph Lundgren is, in fact, ACAB in this film.
He's very ACAB.
Yeah, you would expect to find blue laces in his boots. Oh
my God.
It is a whole lot of something.
Also a necklace of ears again.
Yes, again, he has gotten quite a number of ears between Utah and Louisiana in 6 hours.
Let's be honest and give credit to this movie where it's due. He looks badass.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I would give a huge amount of credit to this movie in that the contrast between him and Jean-Claude Van Damme has made his accent work entirely accurate and believable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like with the contrast of JCVD, he sounds as all-American as humanly possible.
Agreed. A fight ensues. He's got these needles which give him power.
It's cooling gel.
At some point, Luke gets his hands on one of these needles, and they have a full-on, straight-up, ripped from 1925 Popeye the Sailor Man moment as he struggles to fight for this needle. And once he injects it, you can almost hear the Popeye music as he gains his powers and begins fighting with true JCVD Kung Fu or whatever type of martial art he does.
I don't know. It's a lot of jump in the air and kick, jump in the air and kick, jump in the air and kick.
A lot of jump kicks. They fight back and forth. It's close. At one point, Veronica's running and...
Oh, yes. R.I.P. Chevy Love. We miss you.
Yeah. Beautiful Chevy Love, 1978 probably.
Yeah.
Gets blown up by one of Dolph's grenades, which also was attempting to kill Veronica. But in the end, Dolph, poor guy, gets impaled on some type of threshing machine.
That is actually a seed drill. Don't know why you would have that in Louisiana. It's not the type of type of agricultural equipment you would have there.
He's a farm boy,
and
they struggle as Dolph tries to impale him.
Importantly, there is a close up on spikes going through Dolph's hands.
Yes, there is,
because apparently he's Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it's foreshadowing his role.
Yeah. Halt, sinners!
But Luke turns the machine on and grinds him into a million pieces, which I don't think any amount of ice will regenerate.
Which also, that seed drill that he was impaled on is not attached to a wood chipper. Again, these are like completely disparate machines.
No, but it doesn't matter. It's farm equipment. People watching this don't understand how farms work, and all of them are deadly.
Yes, it is very much the equivalent of stabbing someone with a running drill and then their arm is sawed off.
Yeah. But he's dead.
He is apparently deceased, although you might not know that from the fact that there are 4 sequels to this film.
Oh. Is he in them?
He is in the movies number 4 and 5, I believe.
Cool. We will not be covering those.
Yeah, I feel like
we might watch one for a Patreon, let's be honest.
Yeah. As I said, maybe on a Patreon, maybe on this show. I have heard those last 2 movies are actually good, like better than this.
Really?
But
that is not much of a brag.
But yeah, as bad as this was, I'm not excited.
Just to wrap it up, the ending, I believe there's like a hug. It's a very close hug. I believe there's like a head kiss.
Yeah.
Once again, there might even be like a neck kiss. Like, is it romantic? It doesn't really look romantic.
It's unclear. He could be her father.
And then it fades away, and then it's over.
Yeah. And then
the best part of the movie starts.
Yeah, literally the absolute best part of the movie starts as soon as it fades to black.
Because the credits are accompanied by the tune. What's the name of the song?
Is it just Body Count a-Comin'? Something like that?
Yeah, it's
Body Count's in the House.
Body Count's in the House by Body Count, featuring Ice-T, 2 Johnny Mnemonic links in this fucking film.
Body Count, Body Motherfucking Count. Oh.
Yeah, he just says body count over and over again, but that's all Ice-T needs to say.
It's true.
Good song. I increased my runtime as I had to listen to that one out. I felt I owed it to the man that's given us so much content to work with.
He truly has. Okay, so I was texting you as I was watching this for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. I think Oh, I said R.I.P. Chevy Love.
Yeah.
And then at the end of as the movie was just ending, I said, "Gonna level with you. I'm not looking forward to watching this again to take notes." And then the immediately following, like within the minute, was, on the other hand, this is the end credit song. So that's something.
Yeah.
Like, it's something to look forward to.
It is. It really is. If you're watching this, you get some body count as a reward for all your hard work.
Yeah, good for Ice-T. Get that fucking get that bag, baby.
Get paid, Ice-T. I know that's what you do best. You don't need our encouragement. You know what you're doing.
That's true. He's done fucking 43 years on a cop show. So on propaganda.
I'm proud. I'm not proud's not the word, but I'm happy anytime I see Ice-T in anything because I know he's getting paid and I know that's what makes him happy.
That is true. Also, his lovely wife, Coco.
Yes.
She also makes him happy.
All right. We have got to wrap up. I did not want this to go this long.
No, me neither. I also did not want the movie to go this long.
True. But I feel like we were so much faster on Upgrade, and it was such a better film than this.
It was. I mean, that movie had so many better and more ideas.
Yeah. And we gave it a lot less time. I don't know. It's fun also to talk shit, so whatever. Let's do the ratings real quick.
Real quick, it just occurred to me to look, and it turns out that Roland Emmerich is gay. So,
okay, it makes sense then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, makes sense.
All right, good for him. Yeah, give play to your audience.
Yeah.
All right, ratings.
1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Oh,
Can we go lower than 1?
I'm gonna write it. No, we can't. Okay. Story.
1.
I think properly executed, the story could have been interesting. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, The Bourne Identity, I would give at least a 2. So yeah, call me 2 as well.
All right. Influence. This movie influenced nothing and stole everything. So I think,
yes.
I think 1. I'm gonna go 0.
Okay, so 0 is generous, I believe. This had negative influence. This set back films.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna be like I didn't hate. There are worse movies than this, but as far as influence, it stole everything it got right. So, prescience. That's
no.
It didn't take place in the future for one thing, and this thing they said that would happen. There's no super soldiers yet that we know of, so I'm gonna give it a 1.
Yeah, I
just
mean,
in the fact that I don't know, ice is still important. I don't know.
Ice is like, okay, as someone who works in the desert, I will give props to ice. That's a 1. That's a 1 from me, dog.
Style. I'm gonna give it a little credit on style. I'm gonna go a little higher. I am going to go 4.5 for style because I love Dolph Lundgren's vest in the end.
Okay, solid. And
of
course,
it all goes
the
to
classic ear necklace.
Yes, all of the style points go to Dolph Lundgren.
Okay,
and Veronica's look was pretty fire too.
I will give this a 4, but only style-wise, because it is, in retrospect, clearly a very gay movie.
Yeah, it is very gay.
And like I am 100% certain, and something I hadn't mentioned previously, one of Eric and I's good friends, Ryan, he is not listening, I'm sure. He loved Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme was his absolute favorite fucking movie star.
I did not know that about him.
Yes, by a huge margin. You could barely get him to sit and watch a fucking Schwarzenegger movie or anything else.
Just wish Terminator was JCVD.
Yeah, literally. I am 100% certain that this movie, in retrospect, deeply confused on a subconscious level a lot of people like that.
Yeah, because he's probably a homophobe now. Don't really talk to him anymore.
Nope, haven't for the better part of 20 years. Actually, It might be literally 20 years now. So I am I am going to give this movie props for smuggling in the gay agenda.
Yeah. Big credit to the gay agenda in this one. I'm happy to see it get its props. I wonder how many other movies out there like that we just didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And like respect for not overly sexualizing the one woman you put in the film.
Not sexualizing at all. I mean, it's honestly surprising.
All right. Hand raisers. I'll give it 1.5. I'm going to be generous.
I think a 1. I mean, like, okay, it's got... this was something I was going to get into earlier. Okay, it's like if you had
time to get into anything new.
This is going to be like a 1-paragraph thing and a short one. Okay, so imagine you have a checklist of things that make up cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so you've got a list of 100 things, and you need 10 of them to really qualify as cyberpunk. And they can be in any combination. Either clear, evident, body mods. And then another aspect could be, anti-corporate, whatever.
Yeah.
This movie has like 2 things that are vaguely cyberpunk.
It's got memory fuckery, which is a big cyberpunk thing, and it's got body modification of some sort.
Of a very minimal, not emphasized kind. Yeah.
A little bit of transhuman stuff going on, but not played philosophically, purely played for plot advancement.
Yeah. So it does not, I'm giving it a 1 because it doesn't do, it doesn't even achieve the base level of, okay, you need minimum 5 things to be cyberpunk.
Yeah.
This doesn't even come anywhere near that.
Had I been more familiar with the film, I wouldn't have probably had us do it.
No, having never seen it before, I assumed there was more cyberpunk then.
Yeah. I mean, and also government overreach with the military, doing these off books. There's aspects of it which I can see why a list that's really trying to be exhaustive could throw it on there. I don't think for what we're trying to do that it really fits, and I probably wouldn't have done it if I'd known all this.
Yeah.
But we did it, so here it is.
Yeah, we did it. It was a movie, as I said to Eric, it is something that was shot on film and entered my eyes as moving images. Therefore it qualifies as literally a film.
Universal Soldier, definitely a film.
Definitely meets the minimum requirements of a feature film.
All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us for this. I don't know. I hope it was funny to listen to us dog on a movie that's probably been dogged on by a million other podcasts better than us. I'm
sure. Yeah, I hate the idea of just being a fucking bad movie podcast, man.
Well, we're not, because we have sucked so many movie dicks over the last 10 episodes.
Yeah,
we had to get a bad one.
Yeah, we did.
I like the idea of sprinkling bad ones here and there. We can't only watch good stuff here.
Why can't all movies be good? That's what I wonder.
Yeah, come on, guys. Get it together, filmmakers.
Speaking of which, next week...
Oh, God.
We're going to watch a movie that neither of us have seen.
We don't know if it's good or not.
I don't know if it got good reviews. I suspect not, based on the fact that I don't think I've heard anything at all about it since a trailer came out.
Yeah. It's the movie you watched the trailer and you knew instantly if you were ever going to watch it. And the only reason I am is because we have a podcast.
Yes. 2019. Place your bets now. Battle Angel Alita. Or is it Alita Battle Angel?
Yeah, because it wanted to be at the top of those alphabetical lists.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this. I hope it's cyberpunk.
At the very bare minimum... I'm given to understand that the anime that it is based on is a cyberpunk anime.
Okay.
So
we are not watching the anime. We just did an anime.
No.
We're watching the half CGI, half real life, weird, creepy, Uncanny Valley live action version.
2 hours, 2 minutes, 2019, written in part by James Cameron.
Okay, well, yeah.
Starring Rosa Salazar.
Friend of the show.
Yes,
James Cameron, not Rosa Salazar.
Christoph Waltz, Jennifer Connelly, and Mahershala Ali.
And somewhere in there, Michelle Rodriguez.
Somewhere in there, Michelle Rodriguez, directed by Robert Rodriguez. Yep. So, I mean,
it's got a lot of the hallmarks of stuff we like. So hopefully we'll like it.
Okay, I'm seeing the auto-playing trailer on IMDb right now, and I just saw a dude with a fucking cyborg body. So that's cool.
I'm pretty sure it's cyberpunk. It's definitely on all the lists. So
I think it'll be a lot more cyberpunk than the bullshit we watched for this week.
Yeah, we need a little return to form. So if you want to watch that ahead so you don't get spoiled by our bullshit talk, hope we didn't spoil Universal Soldier for you. That would just make me feel terrible.
Yeah. If you should have checked before. You should have checked it out before we started. Alita Battle Angel is currently available on Hulu if you've already subscribed to that, or for rent from like Apple fucking Prime, whatever.
Apple Prime, my favorite streaming service.
Yes.
All right, guys. Until then, I do want to thank our patrons. I'm not going to do them by name this week, maybe next week, but if you are subscribed to us on Patreon, thank you so much for your assistance. It's helping us pay for all these movies we have to rent.
It's this podcast is more of an expense than I had expected.
Yeah, well, it's like I could have watched this on Freevee, but I don't want to watch goddamn commercials. I would have turned a 90-minute movie into an hour movie, and that would have sucked.
You are absolutely right. Yeah, you're correct. That would have been a fucking nightmare. Like having to see commercials in the middle of this and know you're coming back to it.
Yeah, I know. Although it would have been nice, time to step outside, throw up a little bit, come back in.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. Anyway, thank you, patrons. We appreciate it. And thank you to all listeners. Thank you for going to our Twitter. Mine is @thefrog_0. His is @ace_Collins. And until next week,
you can't run from this war, soldier! Not under my command! You're growing weak! You should have taken your medication!
Exactly. Goodbye!
I just want to go home.
Bye!
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter @Johnny60seconds. Email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com. And find us on Patreon patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music provided by Nia Lore at nialore.com. Thank you for listening.
Excuse me, Robo, any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble.